I can hear you like a little bit cut, but I think it will be fine. We need to get the audio fine because otherwise nobody's going to listen to us.
Yeah. Audio is key. Audio is key.
No, I think it's fine. Listen, the first thing I want to ask you is, how much did you manage to do from your Latin American tour? Because Dave was in Latin America for a while.
I was, and the answer is not much. I made it to Santiago, Valparaiso, and Rio de Janeiro. And that's it.
And that's it. Well,
Dos meses.
Dos meses Santiago y Rio de Janeiro?
Sí.
Oh, wow. That was quite a lot, though. That was a long time.
Well, I was planning to travel for a year or more, so.
I'm so sorry, mate.
COVID.
You're going to do it. You're going to do it eventually, right?
Eventually, see.
Eventually, see. That's good. The other thing I wanted to ask you, how is quarantine or social distancing in Canberra?
I don't know a lot about social distancing because I've been in quarantine, so I'm stuck in my parents' house, which is fun. But quarantine's been good. It's been a positive time for self-development.
You're very positive, so I really want you to say your top tips for quarantine life because I really needed them yesterday and you really helped me. I was having a low quarantine day. So I think you should share that first. With our audience of 6 people.
6 people, fantastic. I think my main thing is to just, reset and remember that, like, all the plans you had 2 weeks ago are fucked. Not good anymore.
That's okay.
And
let's keep it real.
So you have to just accept new circumstances and make the best of it, I think. So, I don't know. Keep healthy, find a new routine, find new activities, find new hobbies. Yeah.
That's good. What are your new hobbies? What are you doing?
Well, they're old hobbies taken up again. So I've been playing guitar a lot.
Yeah.
Doing a course online about teaching because I'm an ESL teacher.
Yeah. Whoop whoop.
Whoop whoop. What else am I doing? Eating. Jueguitos.
What? Say again.
Juggling a football. Juggling a soccer ball.
Soccer ball. Jueguitos.
Jueguitos. No. Okay.
Jueguitos. Jueguitos. Yes, I know what you're saying.
Jueguitos.
Basically, bouncing the ball with your feet and see how many.
No.
Well, not your ball.
Bouncing the soccer ball.
Yeah. You know what I mean. Jueguitos. My aunt who is watching us actually got it, and she's like typing Jueguitos.
Hey, yes,
that's it. She got it. She got it.
I can do it 9 times.
9 times. That's quite a lot.
Which is better than before, which was like 1. So.
Yeah, and my other friend, she's like, Jueguitos, boluda. She's like, everybody gets it but me.
Yeah.
Listen, you know what? Once in Australia, I actually did Jueguitos to get a free tour. To do something. This guy was like, if you manage to do 5, I'll give you this tour for free. And obviously I did because I'm Argentinian and it's part of the culture.
Of course.
Yeah. So, yeah,
Amazing.
I know what you mean. Yeah, you know what? Have you been talking to your Latin American friends that you did on the trip about what's happening in their countries or the countries they're stuck in?
Yeah. My friends in Brazil are just stuck inside. They're
proper quarantine.
Surviving. Proper quarantine. My good friend Anna, who is in Peru, is trapped in an apartment with 8 other people.
Oh my! 8 people in an apartment.
8 other people, so 9 people.
Oh my God!
So she is, unable to get back to Argentina. Basically, there's like no flight.
Yeah, I know.
Anymore.
There's actually video. There's a video going around showing people stuck at Sydney Airport, and they're pleading at the government and saying, please let us go back home, because the moment they see they are Argentinian, they are taken from the queue when there were flights. So they are segregated, basically, and being told that they can't fly.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah, that sucks.
And my other friends who are from different countries have gone back home, back to Germany or to Italy or yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And they're in quarantine too.
Well, our quarantine has been extended until April the 12th, and it's proper quarantine. Yeah. Basically, we can only go out to go to the supermarket or maybe to the pharmacy, and it was supposed to end on the 31st, but now it's been extended until the 12th because obviously things are not getting much better. So yeah, I mean, it's always going to be quarantine for me, but the moment I graduate from quarantine in a room, I have quarantine in the house. So, I mean, I think that's an upgrade.
It's an upgrade. It is an upgrade. You get a little bit more walking space. You can, walking space. I don't.
Kitchen, which is Kitchen's not a good thing. Because I was thinking, well, no, because now I can only eat what they bring me. So I think that's a good thing, because otherwise I'm just going to attack the fridge or the pantry. I'm just going to attack it, because I know that that's what I would do. So, that's one of the things that I am actually dreading. I want to be in quarantine forever. I think I'm going to get really healthy.
About COVID-19, whether you're in quarantine or...
Ooh, I'm losing you. I think I lost you. Wait. Woohoo! It's reconnecting, but I think I lost you. David! Hi, everyone. I'm waiting for Dave to get back online. Yes, you're back. What were you saying?
I was saying that, there is a silver lining to the COVID crisis. And one of them is weight loss, you know?
Yes, for some people, unless you attack everything you have, which could be a problem.
Yeah, it's not for everybody, but, there's a fly.
You know what I wanted to ask you, and actually this is for me. When you have been teaching, because Dave is actually a teacher of English as a second language or as a foreign language, I never got the difference really. What is the main difference between all of the learners that you have had from different nationalities? Because we had a lot of Latin people, Asian.
Yeah.
Can you give me a brief? What did you feel?
Well, I can only speak from my experience, because when you're talking about nationalities, often you just end up sounding racist, especially because I'm a white Australian.
Yeah, I did put you in the spot, but it can be really positive. It doesn't have to be racist.
From my experience, I can speak from my experience.
You can be not racist.
It's possible. A white Australian, but it's possible. I know that Brazilians are the friendliest people on earth, which means they often find it difficult.
Oh, it's buffering again. I'm losing you again, Davo. Bear with me. Hi, Anna. Davo's internet is not really good. You're back.
I'm back. Haha.
Yeah, you were saying Brazilians are really friendly.
Mm-hmm. Which is wonderful, but can be distracting in a classroom. When you've got
yes, we can be
a big group.
Latins in general,
yeah. I think Brazilians are the friendliest. I'll put it like that. I found that there's a big difference between, especially Japanese and Korean students.
Mm-hmm.
And Latin students.
Hi, Emily. I see you. Everyone, bear with us. He's coming back. Is it your internet, Davo? You're back. Is it your internet or my internet?
I don't know. My internet's been really good. Maybe I can go outside. Might be better outside.
I don't know because I'm next to the Wi-Fi.
Yeah,
but Japanese and Korean, it's really interesting. I really want to hear the answer, but I can't get it.
Yeah. I think what I've been told and what I've talked about well, correctly, and speaking with respect. So that inhibits production, basically. Because when students are trying to, in an English classroom, you have to make mistakes. You have to speak as much as possible just to practice. And if you're constantly thinking about speaking in the most formal register and speaking correctly and properly, then you're going to just stop yourself in your tracks, especially at lower levels, because
that's true.
You're just going to make mistakes, and that's part of your level. So
it's part of the experience to make mistakes. So they're not really risk takers. So sometimes that is a problem. I agree with you completely. It's hard.
Whereas I find,
do you pair them together?
Oh yeah, totally. I love to. You get different personalities as well. It's not entirely cultural, but it's always good to pair up a bubbly, vibrant personality with somebody who's a bit quieter. And then after a while, you hear this fantastic conversation, and it ends up having a good result.
Yeah, I agree with you. The other thing that I wanted to ask you is, what is your go-to? This is becoming really teacher-centered. I don't know why. I just had a moment.
¿Por qué no?
What is your go-to? ¿Por qué no? What is your go-to game in the classroom? Because I have a go-to game, but what is yours?
One of my favorites is Hot Seat, where you divide the class, normally based on personalities. So people that really get competitive, and then they have to, it's a competition basically. And students often get really into it, and you don't need to do any preparation, so you can just use vocab from last week or from the lesson or whatever, and it takes up 15, 20 minutes, half an hour if you want. Hot Seat is...
Okay. And what do you do? Is Hot Seat with, how does it work?
So you can have 2 or more groups, and one student has their back to the teacher or to the whiteboard in each group, and you write up a phrase or a word or a really long, complicated sentence, and the rest of the group has to explain to them the meaning of the word or the grammar form or the mistake that's in the sentence or whatever it is, and they have to write it down on a piece of paper or a mini whiteboard and then hold it up, and if they get it correct, they get 1 point. Oh,
I really like that.
And if you want to spice it up, you add chocolate to the mix, and people go insane.
Anything with chocolate, people go insane.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really good. That's cool. You know what's my go-to? I generally put like list of sentences on one end of the room for two different. Oh, I lost my earplug. For 2 different groups, and then isn't it called Hawaiian skirt? And then I have different sentences that they have to take from it, and in groups, so it's a race. They have to take it, and in general, the sentence has a mistake, so they have to correct it in group, and then they have to go back and put it on the wall, and then the team that wins, the team that finishes first wins. And I do that all the time, and and it works with everything. It works even with vocabulary, maybe a matching test, a matching table, or anything like that. That's my go-to. But I'm going to stop with all the teacheries.
Yeah. Well,
tell me, sorry.
Well, I was just going to say, I'm a lazy teacher, so I like games that have no preparation. You just sort of whip out of the air at the end of the class or whatever. But
no cutting, nothing like that.
Well, actually, no. I do a lot of cutting. I also love board games, but anyway, enough teaching.
I love how your sentence there was. I do a lot of cutting, and it could be taken out of context, and this could be a disaster, and we're going to be shut down. The other question I wanted for you is, in your trip in Latin America, what was the 2 things that you discovered about yourself?
Aha! Yeah, I remember. Yeah, I don't know.
I'm sure you did. You're you reflect a lot. I'm sure you reflected.
I did reflect. What did I discover about myself? I discovered that. Well, I had a bit of a. I had a little mantra, which was that if you have no plan, your plan can't fail. I discovered that isn't entirely accurate.
Which is perfect for our current situation. Thank you.
Well, yeah, except that my plan to have no plan in South America did fail.
Okay.
But I discovered that, like, I'm pretty laid back and able to go with the flow, but it was really upsetting to have to come back to Australia.
Yeah. How was that? How was that moment? When did you realize COVID or coronavirus, which I learned is not the same thing, was affecting
COVID-19.
your plans? How did it happen? Yes, sorry. Thank you for that.
Well, I was in Rio, in Santa Teresa, in a hostel called Mambembe, which was really cool. Fantastic hostel. Yeah. Highly recommend it.
Highly recommend it to our 6 viewers. Yeah.
Yeah. I got a phone call from my parents saying, come home right now, like everything's about to, go to shit and you're going to die if you stay there, basically. And I was like, well, okay.
You're going to die? Home. Is that what they said? You're going to die?
They didn't say that, but I could hear it in my mom's voice,
Okay.
But I was like, no, screw that. Like, it's only the second month of my year and or more traveling and working in South America, so no way. But we decided that I would call my cousin who works in a hospital in Sydney, and I sent him a message and he called me back. And basically he was saying this was 2 weeks ago. Basically he was saying that in their hospital they had cancelled all leave for all of their staff. They'd opened new wards and put new beds in, and they were basically preparing for the most extreme crisis possible. And so I asked him the question, ever. In 100 years. So I asked him the question, how seriously do you recommend I come home? And he was basically like, David, come home now. So
wow.
I was like, shit. I love my parents, I respect them, but they're not medical professionals. So when I heard it from, a PhD doctor who's high level in the hospital and has contacts around the world in the medical community, I was like, okay, I'm going to go home. And that was soul crushing. So I was really depressed.
And you could book your flight easily. Did you have any trouble with that, with the logistics part? Or?
Yeah, I did, because I tried to book a flight. I tried to book a number of flights at a reasonable price. And when I went to pay for them, they all were either cancelled or booked out or crashed or whatever. So my parents ended up having to go through a travel agent in Australia who was able to find a flight. And so I had to go via Dubai to come back to Australia, which was, to get to Canberra ended up being a 41-hour journey, which was
41 hours? Are you joking?
26 hours on 2 planes, 5 hours in Dubai, and then, just a long...
That's a story in itself.
It was a long time.
Did you make any friends? Did you make...
No. I made friends with a few bottles, empty bottles now.
That's so sad.
Well, 13-hour flights, one self-discovery was that I thought I loved airplanes, but I only love airplanes when I'm going somewhere and I want to be going there. 13 hours on a plane.
Important.
13 hours on a plane when you're feeling a bit depressed and crushed and you don't want to be going to your destination is movies alone don't cut it.
I know.
But
I know what you mean.
I didn't make any. On my flight to South America, I made 2 friends and spoke to them for the entire flight. On the flight back, I didn't speak to anybody, except for some very friendly flight attendants.
Your mood was pretty low. One of my friends is saying 48, 41 hours. Shit, yeah. Fucking long. That's the longest thing I've ever heard.
It's not short. It's the opposite of short, is what it is. It's big.
And you know the funny story for me, the person who's commenting now is the person I met when I was traveling from Santiago to Buenos Aires when I was going back home. And we became friends, and now she's actually watching us. So that's like a good silver lining for this.
Yeah, full circle. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, it's possible to... Yeah.
It's possible to meet people at the worst times. I think so.
That is correct.
The other thing that I was actually interested in knowing is how did you feel? Because you said you were in Santiago, so you were in Chile and you were in Brazil. How, if you had to, because I'm putting you in the spot, how would you compare the two? I'd like to. In your face.
They're completely different cities.
They are?
Like Santiago it seems to me like I was only there for a month, but it seems like a very commercial city.
It is.
And of course, Chilean people are amazing and super friendly and awesome, but the city itself is, I don't know. It's kind of similar to any other big city. But Rio de Janeiro is a different ball game. Oh, and the other thing is Santiago is like the most expensive place I've been outside of Sydney, apart from London.
Really?
It's so expensive. It's crazy. Well, not beer and wine. Wine is cheap and amazing, but
that's important in life, you know.
Yeah. But yeah, super expensive. Whereas Rio de Janeiro is like. Well, I was there for Carnival, so I guess that's kind of used my perspective.
I mean, that's the dream. That's the dream. You can't compare Rio during Carnival to anything in life. That's not fair.
Yeah.
That's not fair.
But even
I don't
after
take
Carnival,
this. No.
It's like, people are so open and friendly. Like, everybody wants to talk. Everybody's like, everybody's sort of connected in a different way to every other city I've been ever before. And I think Cariocas, the people from Rio de Janeiro, that's their name, are just so warm and friendly. It's insane. And the city itself is like inside of a, Atlantic rainforest. And it's just so beautiful. And, it's got this other thing that it's not geographically segregated in terms of, it's not. There's a big mix of rich and poor everywhere you go, and it's super visible. And I think there's a lot of mix in between in some ways. Like you'll have a homeless person sleeping outside of one of the most expensive apartment buildings in Rio de Janeiro. And then there's a fence and a security guard, and these two worlds they're just there at the same place at the same time. And of course, there's the favelas and there's the suburbs, which are poorer. But in Santiago, in the center, it's more separate. When you get the bus to Valparaiso, you go through the poor areas, and they're different. You can tell, like, there's a rich area and a poor area.
Yeah.
It's more geographically segregated. Like
so
Sydney.
It's segregated. Yeah, I see what you mean. I mean, the thing is, it's funny. It's funny you should say that, because depending on where you go and where you're from our cities, we see it more. I think we see it differently. If I would go, maybe not to Santiago, but if you would ever go to Buenos Aires, you may feel the same, because it really depends on which places you go to, right? As a tourist, even if you're trying not to be a tourist, you would go to certain places in certain cities. But I guess in Rio, you were able to see it all mixed up, which is the reality, really. It is all mixed up. My aunt is also saying that Santiago is cheap compared to Buenos Aires. I think they are, and I think they are much better suited to actually comment on that, because I haven't lived here for so long. But I was dying for you to get to Argentina. I mean, you would have to come back, but you would find it really expensive here as well. It is.
Yeah. Yeah, that's scary.
It
That
is.
frightens me. Yeah, it's terrifying. Yeah.
But
I think maybe I'll go and work in Buenos Aires instead of just travel.
Well, yeah, I already set you up.
Rosario.
I
know.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
COVID-19.
COVID. In a different type of line of questioning, I've been also asking everyone to give me the best advice they have received so far, because I think we can all use advice, general advice for anything. I don't feel I have an authority to give advice. Yeah, ever. Don't you remember? I do remember mine, like vividly.
Yeah, I do actually. I do. Except I have to think of how he actually said it. It's advice from the most unlikely source. It's a guy who I'm pretty sure now is a meth addict.
Okay, great. So,
but it doesn't matter where the advice comes from. If it's good, it's good. He said that he told me. I can't remember how to explain it properly, but basically,
give us the gist.
The gist. Some people will. Basically, some people are going to think you're beautiful, and some people are going to think you're ugly, and that's completely independent of anything that you do. So, if you try and change yourself to impress other people, people are still going to think you're ugly, and somebody else is still going to think you're beautiful. So, no matter how you change yourself, there's always going to be, say 50% of people who like you and 50% of people who hate you or who think you're beautiful and think you're ugly.
So that's
no matter how you change yourself. So you may as well just be yourself, and someone's going to hate you and someone else is going to love you, no matter what.
And that's going to remain the same no matter what you do.
Exactly. No matter what you do, whether you get plastic surgery or you try and be the friendliest person or you try and help people too much and to your own detriment, no matter what you do, you're going to be loved and hated. So you may as well just accept that and be yourself.
I like it, Davo. That's good. Mine is so business oriented, because I was having a lot of trouble in London with a lot of different things when I was living there. And I was closing a deal on rent. And I was really upset because it was coming back and forth. I was losing money from every deal, from every angle, really. And I remember I closed the deal for this rental, and then I also got a job. And I wasn't really happy with the terms, but everybody else was telling me, this is a really good situation you have on. And I was like, but what about that other deal that someone got? What about that other property? What about that other job? And my dad sat me down. He couldn't stand me anymore. And he said, a good deal is a good deal irrespective of whether there is another good deal out there or if there is a better deal out there. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to remember that forever. So every time I do something and I think there's something better, obviously it doesn't work if you're really lazy and you never go for things. But in my case, at least, in my case, it was like, if you closed or if you have a good situation even with your life, just accept it and be happy with it. Yeah, it doesn't matter that there is a better situation out there. Just be content with the things you have. But yeah, I remember that forever, every time.
And I think that's really important. And I've heard somebody say a similar thing about relationships, because especially with like Tinder and modern dating, it's like, you're constantly able to, meet new people. And it's not like in the 1950s where you meet one person, you get married, you have 15 kids, and life sucks. You're expected to date lots of people, and it's like nobody's even sure if there's one person for one person anymore. So it's like, but you have to be able to just say like, where I am is good, and if I'm happy where I am, then that is good. And if you're constantly searching, then you won't enjoy what you have. So good advice.
Yeah, totally. And the other thing, talking about that, you know what I read? I don't know why
I don't know what you read.
This, but I read yesterday, there was someone talking about, what happens with dating now. We are constrained to our walls and living with family and all of that. And
frantic masturbation.
I'm coming back to this. Yeah. So what people were saying is that You can actually go on digital dates. I can't really go back from this, but I'm gonna go back. You can you can go on digital dates. So basically, focus. Basically, you should still, if you want to go on the apps, because you're going to use the apps, you go on the apps, and then you suggest chatting, and then from chatting, I mean texting. From texting, you move on to phone calls. From phone calls, you move on to like a FaceTime or whatever we are doing, like a Skype call or whatever you're doing. So you can graduate.
Then frantic. No. Sorry.
Yes, and then frantic, combined, whatever you want to. Whatever works for you, Davo. I don't need to know right now. With people watching, especially my family members. Thank you. But yeah. So I think there is a way of in which we can date. I think it's not the best, but it is what it is.
No, I mean it's true, and the digital dating world has changed in the past, whatever, like, I don't know, 10 years dramatically, and COVID will probably just make it, consolidate that even more.
There is another positive. You're going to make an emotional connection.
Exactly. I'm starting to.
You're going to make an emotional connection.
Yeah.
Yeah? How?
No.
Why?
Well, that sounds terrible. I don't know. Well, no, not really. But it's going to change culture. I was thinking the other day, right? Like, we say "bless you" when you sneeze in English, and I'm pretty sure that's from the influenza pandemic 100 years ago.
It was actually. Yes.
So there's going to be all of these cultural changes that are going to change the way we think and act for the next century, if not more.
I agree. Did you have another insight on how? Do you have another idea of how? A practical thing you think is going to change, apart from, like, obviously people sneezing and everyone freaking out?
It was my auntie's birthday the other day, and she was supposed to be going to Bali, and she would have had, like, a party with all of her friends and stuff. So obviously that's impossible now. But her daughter sent a message to all of her family and friends to send a small video, which she was going to compile into like a little video message for her on her birthday.
That's nice.
And I think, like, just the way that we interact can still be meaningful in a virtual world, and there's going to be all these new ways. Like, a birthday card might become, or a birthday party might become a Skype meeting, or a collation of videos, or a date might become, texting and then a phone call and then video.
So it's already changing.
Yeah, there's like one of the most popular health experts in Australia at the moment, Norman Swan, received a question. He's got a podcast about coronavirus where he answers questions called CoronaCast.
Which is what we should do, obviously. Just saying.
Obviously. I mean, this is amazing. And he said, somebody asked him, because they are in a relationship and live apart from their partner, and the person wanted to see their partner. And Norman Swan said that they can see each other, but they still have to stay 2 meters apart.
True.
So, like, they're not allowed to kiss or hug or anything. So, like, I think maybe that the intensity of relationships is going to have to stay the same, even with this distance, And I think it's going to change the way we interact with, our emotions and stuff, especially for Latin people.
Community, yeah. My dad was saying he did business with some Japanese people. And he was like, well, they have managed to keep it out from the house because, one, they take off their shoes every time that they want to enter the house. And there's not a lot of physical contact anyway. So, in a way, they had already cracked this COVID-19 quite a lot. Whereas for us, this is against everything we know, everything we have been brought up to do. But, it's fine. We can manage. Are you following the news? Do you follow the news every day? Do you do that?
Oh, look, I try and avoid it.
Oh, you try to avoid it?
The news is only coronavirus.
Yeah, I don't watch the news. I don't watch TV. I watch Netflix, but not TV.
Yeah. I watch more Netflix than I do news, but I read an article or look at the updates every day. Yeah.
Okay.
But there was a good one, right? So just to bring everyone down for a sec. So the other day when I woke up, I calculated the death toll of COVID-19 in Australia, which at like a low estimate based on what I was looking at was going to be 150,000 people. But thanks to looking at the news the other day, there was a new article which said the mortality rate might be not 3% or 4%, but as low as 1% or less.
Oh.
So that means it might only be 50,000 people, which is still the amount of Australians that died in World War I, but better than 150,000.
Yeah, better than 150,000. Yeah, that's actually good news that you got from the news. So that was a good move. I don't really feel the need to watch it. Everybody tells me everything anyway. You know, if there's something big, I will find out. There's something big, I will find out from my family that is separated from me, but I can still see them 3 meters apart.
Oh, yeah, true.
No, I can go to the garden. I have a plastic and I can go to the garden. And I have 4 days to go. You also have 4 days to go, right?
Yeah, I do. How does that work?
Yeah, that's good. We should do a party, actually, now that we're talking about...
Yeah.
A house, like a freedom party. Well, I get to go to the kitchen, but you get to live. In Canberra, you can leave the house, right?
Yeah, well, we've been recommended, there's a very weak obligation.
How does it work there?
Stay inside. Well, basically, our Prime Minister's just an idiot, and he's very slowly coming to terms with coronavirus. But they announced yesterday or the day before that we should stay inside. We shouldn't go out unless it's necessary. But I don't think the police have any power to do anything.
No, because it's not mandatory like here.
No, exactly.
The police can tell you or will tell you to go home if you're caught jogging, let's say. You can't do that.
Well, so the Prime Minister actually said that exercise is one reason you can leave the house.
Yeah, so everybody will pretend to just go out. Well, in the UK, they can go out once a day. Yeah, so at least they can go out once. They can have one outing a day. Obviously, maybe considered to when people want to go out and do some sport or something like that. But I don't know. I think they should do a little bit more in Australia. What is your opinion? Because I had a friend who was really happy that the measures were not strict, but I don't think that's clever. I think that's quite stupid.
Okay. I read a thing the other day from our chief health minister guy. Whatever his name is. Which outlined 2 different ways of dealing with coronavirus. So, for example, Peru, Argentina, New Zealand, lots of other countries are completely locking down.
Yeah.
So that they can stop transmission 100%. But a problem with that is that COVID-19, now that it's come, is probably not going to disappear. It's going to stay in the population. Yeah. And it's going to circulate around the world like the influenza virus. So eventually everybody is going to get it. So there's a problem with completely locking down in that when you stop locking down, then the virus will just come back, probably. I don't know.
Okay.
So the Australian method is from this article from the Australian Broadcasting Corporation, is that they want to slow transmission to a level that the hospitals can handle, so the hospitals don't get overwhelmed. But so eventually 60% of the population gets the virus, is able to get treatment and then recover, and then they'll have antibodies, which means they'll be resistant to this strain of COVID-19, and then we'll have herd immunity. I mean, so over the next 12 to 18 months...
It does make sense a little bit.
It kind of does make sense. I mean, I'm not an epidemiologist. I don't know, but it kind of. But if we're all gonna get COVID-19, or the majority of people will, then it makes sense to do it in a controlled way. Yeah,
is there such a thing, though? Is there such a thing?
Probably not. And I think maybe this is just a way of justifying the Australian government being really unprepared and kind of having no clear message so far.
I also feel like it's a political move to justify how they have reacted or how they haven't
because they've reacted terribly and haven't reacted. Exactly. It's like, yeah, anyway. 50,000 people die in Australia. That is unacceptable. Like, that's insane. That's crazy. That's just insane. Australia. We only have 24 million people. Like, we're a small country.
It's really fucking sad, isn't it? Yeah.
It's fucked up.
So in your opinion, you should be locked up? Is that what you're saying? You're not saying anything.
I think there should be. I think there should be. I think there should be Argentinian restrictions.
Okay. I think it works. At least
no sharing the mate.
You know what happened to me when I was in Australia? I was sort of entering a bit of panic mode because I was going to work. So I felt like I was in danger every time I went on the bus or I entered the classroom with students, international students that had just arrived in the country.
Fuck that. No.
Yeah.
Get out.
I was like, why am I here? I remember being with this really, really sweet student from Japan, just her and me on this intensive course. And I was like, when did you get here? And she was like, 4 days ago. And I was like, thank you for that. So every day I was like panicking. And yeah, exactly. And when I got here and everybody was taking care of themselves and really staying at home, immediately my mind is more relaxed and I felt a little bit more.
Yeah.
I felt safer. I guess that's the word.
You are safer.
That's the only
100%.
thing. I am. Now, according to my dad, I'm the safest one, and they are the ones who are going to give something to me, and I agree with that.
Yeah.
Well, I have a final question for you because we've been speaking for 40 minutes. Just to let you know.
Have we?
Yeah, it's really good. If you had to do one last thing, I know this is very apocalyptic, but it doesn't matter.
Magnificent. I love apocalypse.
If you had to do one last thing on your last day, because tomorrow everything is going to shit, or you're gonna.
No, sorry.
Oh my God!
I'm sorry.
You have a problem. You have fixation, and we're going to deal with it on a personal phone call.
Look, I've been isolated for a long time. All right, I'm starting to lose it.
And you were in South America. I don't blame you. The contrast must be huge. Moving on. Yeah. So what's the last thing you would do? The last thing, anything. You can do it, anything for 1 hour. Apart from what you have just mentioned. What's
the apocalypse? Like, is it? Am I going to die
tomorrow? Yeah, it's ending.
The world is going to end. I'm going to die.
Big Bang. Yeah, Big Bang tomorrow. What are you doing?
I've got 1 hour.
You have 1 hour, 60 minutes.
Do I have time to plan?
What do you do?
How much time do I have to plan?
Right now.
Ah, shit.
I'm asking you now. I'm the Prime Minister. I'm telling you, plan it now. And do it now because you have 1 hour.
Family to get drunk with me for now.
So getting drunk with your family. I love that. I think that's really nice. Just drunk. No drugs, nothing.
Well, I don't have any drugs.
You want to be heroin, you want to be present. Yeah, you want to be present.
Well, I mean, what's present,
Yeah, what's present. Okay, getting drunk with your family is pretty nice. I think that's really sweet. Yeah. That's nice. I like it. I have no idea what I would answer to that, by the way.
Yeah, what would you do? You got to tell me now.
Well, I like your idea. I would probably I would add something to your plan. So I would probably get drunk with my family, but I would dial in everyone I want to see in that hour from all of the devices I have. So on my phone, computers everywhere, Zoom sessions, house party, Skype. I would try to get everyone together. So connect with everyone as much as I can.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
If we have internet.
True. You never know in the apocalypse. Yeah. Well.
You never know in the apocalypse.
Well.
Anyway, this has been good. This has been really good, Davo. I'll call you anyway to just debrief a little bit and just I'm worried about you now. But we're gonna be fine. How about your fixations? The heroin. Yeah. Somebody's saying dance for an hour.
I like it.
Yeah. Do you see? Oh, sorry. I forget that you read the same things that I read.
Yeah. But I need to do go to the gym for a few months before I do that. Oh, I think I could dance for an hour. Sounds intense.
Come on. When we go to clubs and we're drunk, we dance for hours.
Oh, yeah. We'll get drunk with my family and dance for an hour. Boom.
That's a good one. Before we go, do you have any questions for me, your host? Because that's how I end my shows.
Why did you decide to start doing this?
Because I'm really bored. First of all, I'm bored. Second of all, I think most of my friends, you as well, have really nice stories about COVID. Nice ones, and also real ones. I was stuck in Rio, and my mother wanted me to come back. I didn't want to. I think that's pretty exciting, and then I can use it as content if I ever go back to work again.
Oh yeah, there you go. Okay, fantastic.
Accents around the world.
Accents around the world, mate.
Yeah, Australian, English, American. So, it's good practice for people to hear different accents.
Cool. Fantastic.
Mm-hmm. Fantastic. Well, thank you, and I'll see you for our Spanish lesson. Let's set the time in a second. Gracias.
Fantastic.
Muchas gracias. Now you speak Portuguese. Okay.
Sí. Sí. Não.
Sí.
I don't know.
Un poco mal. Tudo bom?
Yeah.
Okay, love.
All right.
Thank you. I'll speak to you in a second. ¿Qué?
Cool. Sorry.
¿Qué dijiste?
Laters, mate.
Okay. Laters. Thank you, everyone. Ciao.
Obrigado.
I have to end this. I don't know how to end
Go.
this.
It's up to you. I can't end it.
Wait, end here. Well, I'm not really good with this either. You can see my zit. No, that's bad.
Go.
Wait.
Rápido.
Ahí va.
Rápidamente.